Now giving you more Dean Beck than any other radio station. Joy 94.9.
Well, we are hoping to get Elias Jahshan on the phone. Bear with us whilst we do. Elias is the editor of starobserver.com.au and he joins us on the line. Elias, welcome.
Hi, Dean. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Sorry about that mix-up.
That's okay.
We have a lovely new phone system here at Joy. Now, you'll like this. The line that says line 1 goes through on the position 2 on our decks. And the line that goes from position 2 is the button for line 1. So that's just to confuse us all, and I told them that this would happen, and it did. Now, let's move on.
I just got confused listening to that, so hope you guys
exactly. Now, let's get stuck into the news of the week. It's been a busy week for marriage equality. Now, PFLAG have met with Canberra Pollies. They've done this before, haven't they?
Yeah, PFLAG, a whole contingent of parents met up in Sydney on Sunday and took a bus. A few busloads actually went to Canberra and just pretty much met with a few MPs on Monday and just to talk about why they're so angry about the way politicians are shuffling at their feet on marriage equality.
They're powerful advocates, those parents and friends.
I beg your pardon?
They are powerful advocates.
Yeah, they are, yeah. And PFLAG is actually a force to be reckoned with, especially its leader, Shirley Argent. She's very well connected, and politicians respect her. And you know, she's been honoured with Senior Australian of the Year previously. So, so you know, like I definitely, you're right. They're definitely powerful advocates, and politicians would listen to them because you know they take the angle of how marriage equality is all about family, is all about creating equality in families and linking it to rainbow families and their rights, and linking it to parents of gay children wanting their children to have equal rights. So, yeah, definitely powerful.
Now, Warren Entsch is an extraordinary politician on the Liberal Party side of things. He has had a few promises from Mr Abbott. What are contained in those promises?
Warren Entsch, excuse me. Warren Entsch told ABC News earlier this week that he got a promise from Tony Abbott. Well, maybe promise is not the right word, but he got a guarantee from Tony Abbott.
Maybe guarantee's not the right word either.
A guarantee from Tony Abbott saying if a plebiscite were to be held in the future, and if that plebiscite produced a successful result in favour of marriage equality, then he would guarantee that legislation would be introduced in Parliament on marriage equality, rather than as we all know, a plebiscite is not legally binding. It's not like a referendum. And there's a lot of debate saying, if even if a plebiscite were held, the politicians don't have to listen to it. So what Warren Entsch is saying is he's got a guarantee from Tony Abbott that legislation will be introduced if a plebiscite were successful.
Well, there's lots of toing and froing about this methodology of a plebiscite or a referendum, which is constitutional and probably couldn't be anyway. So the gay and lesbian rights lobbies, I think plural, did a joint survey regarding a plebiscite. What was the outcome of that?
70% of the respondents said that they did not want a public vote of any kind on marriage equality. So whether it's a plebiscite or a referendum, 70% of the survey respondents said no, they don't like that idea at all. And over 650 people took part in that survey, in that joint survey. And both the New South Wales and Victorian gay and lesbian rights lobbies have said, well, this is the result, and they're going to take that result to Parliament. And I believe I am aware that New South Wales gay and lesbian rights lobby co-convener Justin Coonan is in Canberra at the moment for the plebiscite public hearing this afternoon. So I'm sure the survey of the results will be brought up there. But both of the lobbies have said our community members strongly oppose the plebiscite, but at the same time, if the government were to persist and go ahead with it, then they want the wording of the plebiscite to be done independently rather than the government create the wording of the plebiscite, and all these other things just to make sure the plebiscite is fair and square rather than something that works against the community.
Now, Elias just mentioned that this afternoon there is going to be a public hearing, a Senate inquiry into the matter of a popular vote in the form of a plebiscite. They're going to cover topics like public and human rights law experts will speak, organisations opposed to marriage equality will get to speak, LGBTI health, advocacy and community organisations, you'd expect that, health experts, constitutional law experts, and the Electoral Commission. So I think, hopefully, by the end of this, we'll know that it is a plebiscite and can't be a referendum. And hopefully whatever comes out of this will then influence whether it is a plebiscite or nothing at all, a vote in Parliament.
Yeah. Well, I'm in the camp of hoping that plebiscite doesn't happen at all. But, whatever happens. Politics is so unpredictable these days, and it's great that this submission is happening. So this public hearing, Senate inquiry is happening. And like you said, with all those people involved, hopefully it works in the favour of the LGBTI community.
Now, the Victorian AIDS Council came out with an opinion on this. So this is interesting. Tell us what.
Yeah, they released a strongly worded position statement on Tuesday, basically opposing a opposing a referendum and a plebiscite altogether, and cited estimates from the Australian Electoral Commission that said, if a plebiscite were to be held, it would probably cost up to $160 million. If that plebiscite were held on its own, if it were held during the next election, it would cost around $40 million. And they put the argument saying all this money can go towards funding HIV prevention methods and funding rapid HIV testing clinics and bringing PrEP into the foray.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that.
Well, that's
and that's a really good argument.
It is.
Yeah, so I'm not aware of any other LGBTI sexual health body or community organisation coming forward with a strong statement against plebiscites or a referendum as such, apart from VAC. And they've taken a strong stand, and who knows what it will lead to. So, yeah.
Well, whilst we've seen an example of it working in Ireland, we have a history of it not working here locally, so it's a bit of a gamble, I guess. Now, the Victorian government has revealed its new LGBTI task force, and there's a few familiar names on that task force.
Yeah. The task force is basically to help inform Victorian Parliament and, in particular, Equality Minister Martin Foley with issues that affect the LGBTI community and policies and stuff like that. And the task force has been co-led by Martin Foley and a leading trans advocate named Brenda Appleton. And the task force it's been split into two different working groups. One is a justice working group, and the other is a health and human services working group. And while Brenda Appleton and Martin Foley oversee both of them, the Justice Working Group is co-chaired by Anna Brown, one of the Victorian Gay Lesbian Rights Lobby's co-convener, and a well-known human rights lawyer as well. And Upper House Labor MP Harriet Shing is the co-chair of the Justice Working Group. And with the Health and Human Services Working Group, we've got Dr. Ruth McNair and Marianne Thomas, another Labor MP. And even the members of those working groups, you've got Sally Goldner, Paul Keith, Felicity Marlowe, Margot Fink, Paula Gerber, Tony Briffa, Tim Christodoulou from Minus 18, Simon Root from VAC, Brent Allen from Living Positive Victoria. There are a lot. There are a lot of familiar names in this task force, and we can only hope that it will produce some great results for Victoria's LGBTI community.
Yes, there were a few names that applied for roles in those task forces and didn't get in. So, it was a pretty competitive process. I've been highly critical of these things in the past, but I'm reassured that this time around they are much closer to the Department of Premier and Cabinet and have a minister. And so that for once things might be able to get done. So I hope that is the case. I look forward to it.
We just do wait and see, but I have the same hopes as you, Dean.
Now, Elias, we should leave on a New South Wales issue where your Premier was very distressed over the Gaby baby thing.
He stood in Parliament last week, I think on Thursday, and he basically said he was personally very distressed at the fallout from the controversy surrounding Gaby baby. As you probably know, Mike Baird was like the odd one out of some of the major premiers in New South Wales who didn't really publicly support. Well, he supported his education minister's decision to not have the documentary screening during school hours, and then that caused a backlash with Victorian Premier, Queensland Premier, and South Australian Premier.
It sure did.
Condemning him for that.
We've got to leave it there, Elias. We've got to wrap it up. But thank you very much for joining us on the line today.
Okay, no worries. Thank you.
Elias Jahshan is the editor of starobserver.com.au. You can check out those stories and much, much more online. And you can follow me on Twitter at Dean Beck on air. Until next time, you keep well. Take care. Bye-bye.
This Joy program has a podcast and you can subscribe to it at joy.org.au.
Your community. Joy 94.9. 4.9.